Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the identity and how we literally get addicted to our old identity. So many of you might have been in a situation when you really wanted to make some change in your life, whether that was when it comes to a relationship, when it comes to a career, when it comes to your daily habits or behaviors, and you found that you were fighting this invisible force. Quite literally, it felt like you kept pushing against some wall or some invisible force that was there. I want to talk about that today, and I want to address how we are doing that and how we can change that. So this is us, and we are currently super unhappy because we are trying to change desperately our situation, and yet we are still in the same place, in the same environment, in the same patterns, in the same behaviors. And why is that? Because they feel like home. They quite literally feel so familiar to our nervous system, to our being, to our whole identity, that we are chained to this feeling, to this behavior, that we cannot move, we cannot change that. This is the chain that we have on us. We are chained to the familiar, to the known, to the nervous system wiring that has us chained to whatever feels familiar. In this case, that is our old identity. So old we are chained to our old identity. Why is that? Once again, because our nervous system is going to hold on to their dear life, to whatever feels familiar to us, to whatever feels safe to us, to whatever wiring we have received, no matter how messed up it is, no matter how much we want to change, no matter how much we desire to be different, to move different, to have different. If our nervous system is chained to our old identity, it's because our wiring is holding us back. When you are trying to change something, anything, when you find yourself grasping and trying to change the external environment around you, you find yourself in the same situations, in the same scenarios, with the different people, with the same patterns over and over again, because your old identity is there with you and you cannot just remove yourself from it. Because even if you, let's say now you exit this house and you go out, then you are still attached with this chain. You are still attached to this old wiring because it feels like home. And that's why it could be so messed up and you want to change so badly, because I'm always talking in my videos, no one wants to experience those things that we deem negative, right? No one wants to be in an abusive relationship. No one wants to be unhappy. No one wants to be in a situation when they're not happy on the outside. But on the inside, it's our identity and our addiction to the old identity, to the old safety, to the old familiarity that is running the show and that is running the system. So you cannot change your external reality without addressing this wiring first, without quite literally looking at the nervous system wiring, without looking at what was happening, what was going on, how you were brought up, what beliefs you hold about yourself, what you deem safe. Not even you, it's your wiring, what your wiring deems safe, and you want to change that at the root cause. Okay, so at the root cause is where we want to make the change. And we can only make that change by looking internally and start addressing those issues. And I know I always repeat that, but that's how we can literally do that work. Okay? There is no other way around it. And trust me, it's not comfortable, but once you do that, it will change your life and it will change your situation, and your external reality must catch up. Now let's talk about what are some of the labels that we keep holding on for our dear life. So there are certain labels that come with us, certain labels that we bring with us even when we so deeply desire change. So this is us, and let's say we have these labels that are coming with us. So it could be this label: we are always helping anyone, we are the one who is helping, and that's attached to us. It could be the victim. Okay, so some of us are really good at playing the victim in our own game. Remember that we designed this game for us. But if we're playing the victim, we're gonna be the victim, and that's how our life is gonna go forward. It could be the strong one. So for example, if we grew up in an environment where we had to be the one to take the charge, we had to be the one who had to move the situation or change the situation or take care of other people, we would be taking the label of being the strong one with us, okay? So these are just different labels, just an examples of what labels we are bringing with us. There could be so many other ones that we could be mentioning. All of us have a different ways. It could be the one that everyone can rely on. It could be the avoidant one. It could be even those ones, okay? So it could be any of those labels, and those labels have been installed in us in our childhood. So based on our upbringing, based on the ways that we were relating to the people in our life, to the adults, or even the people around us in our environment, that's the label that we unconsciously put on us, and we are bringing it with us, okay? So up until you get aware of this label, up until you get aware that one day, for example, let's say you are going normally about your day, you start complaining about your situation, you start complaining about your situation at home, at work, whatever it is, and then you are quite literally playing into the role of being a victim, right? So you are gonna play that role in every situation that you come across, and you won't be able to change it until you get aware of playing into that role, of buying into that role. And that day that comes, it could be someone telling you, hey, why are you always taking the side where you believe that you are the victim? Why don't you stand up for yourself? Why don't you say something? Why don't you change your situation? It could be some little comment that is going to probably trigger you massively, because you're going to start defending yourself. The moment that happens and you find yourself defending that, you know that this is the label that you are so attached to and addicted to, because you are trying to defend your own pattern in your own way, okay? So the labels, how you can actually spot them, this is a massive giveaway to spot them, is by you becoming aware what you defend. So like I was using this example. Or it could be the helper. Let's say you have the label with you being the helper, and someone asks you for help. You are so busy with your own stuff, you cannot even make time for yourself, you cannot even manage to do your own thing. But because you have this label, you're gonna accept that, and you're gonna help the other person, while you're gonna feel horrible about not meeting the deadline or not making things done which you said you're gonna get done. And then you complain about that, but you're still gonna do it. And then someone tells you, for example, you are speaking to a friend, and the friend tells you, but why did you accept that? Why didn't you say you are busy this weekend? Why didn't you tell them right away that you don't have time, that you would love to help, but you don't have time that day? You already have something that you need to take care of. And you start defending that. You say, but you know, they do so much for me, and I want to help them, and I don't know how to tell them that I couldn't, and they rely on me. And you start defending your situation, and you start getting triggered by your friend bringing up the truth, for example, or just an innocent question. and you start defending your own label, because you've always been that way. You've always been the one who people relied on as being the one who helps, that you cannot now just remove that label and you're gonna defend it. The same one with the strong one. So there could be a million examples of how this can go, but how you can spot that, you're gonna start defending your own label, even though it's not serving you, because you had different plans. You needed to take care of yourself first. You gave in to that label, but still you're gonna defend that label to make yourself feel better in some twisted way. The same here, you're gonna defend your label because you've always been that way, and it's really hard to admit that you could just change that situation, or you could just not play into the victim role. So labels and what they mean about you is all not just who you are, what your identity is now, it's also what you tolerate, what you accept, and like I was saying, what you defend heavily. And of course, it is what you always subconsciously return to. Okay, no matter what, no matter how much consciously you desire the change, you're always going to come back to these labels. Of course, we're going to be talking about why are we doing that in the first place? Why are we holding on to those labels then when they are not serving us? Why are we holding on to the identity that's not serving us? You already know it. But we are here to really understand that. And that's because it makes us feel safe. Okay, so this is us. We are holding on this shield because at some point in our life, this identity, this label, this whatever it is that we are holding on to made us feel safe. Okay, and this shield is here to protect us. So why would we want to let go of it if it is here quite literally to protect us? That's what it was doing our whole life, right? That's what we learned. Okay, so why would we want to let go of it? Because guys, our subconscious mind, our nervous system doesn't understand logic. It only operates on the emotional side of things. And our emotional side of things only differs between something being safe and familiar or unsafe and unfamiliar. So if something is wired in literally in your mind, in your brain, in your subconscious mind, in your nervous system as safe, no matter how much logically, emotionally, physically, and all the other ways you desire change, you're gonna go against the most primal instinct that we have, and that is to keep us safe. In order to make a change in your life, in order to really change your identity, in order to really change your life, your circumstances, your reality, you have to first start unlearning those coping mechanisms, those protective ways that your nervous system and your subconscious mind were wired. Why? Because if you don't unlearn them, you can build on top of that. You can start wiring a new identity. You can start doing affirmations, for example, but they will not go against this very primal thing that is deeply wired in you. Okay? So that's why, for example, if someone starts doing affirmations today and they are saying, I have a beautiful relationship, I'm safe in my relationship, I love my person, I am so in love with my person, it might feel very inauthentic to themselves, to their inner being, because they know that in reality they are in a relationship with someone who is not good to them. They might be in a complete different reality right now, and just saying those things is going to create a massive conflict internally, because you are saying one thing but you are experiencing another thing, right? So whenever I'm talking about this, changing our reality, changing our beliefs, changing our patterns, it's not just doing the affirmation. We need to go deep down into the root cause to actually find the cause, take it out, take the root out, and plant a new seed so we can actually see the change and we can actually achieve the change. So being safe is our most primal instinct, and that's what our nervous system is always going to return to. So whenever you're trying to expand, whenever you're trying to do something that is really out of your character, really out of your system, really out of your identity, it's going to feel very unfamiliar. And that's why we want to first make it familiar. We want to make it safe. And whatever was wired in there at some point in your life that kept you safe, we want to start making it unfamiliar. So our system cannot relate to it anymore. So we can accept the new things coming. Safe. We want to make it safe to our nervous system and not to make it unfamiliar. Very important question that I want you to actually understand, that imagine the nervous system. The nervous system doesn't ask, is this good for me? The nervous system asks, do I know this? I want to even write it down here because it's important. Do I know this? So this is what the nervous system always asks. If you imagine the nervous system as a living being or something to imagine so you understand how it works. It doesn't understand what you want, what you don't want, what is good for you, what is not good for you. It's only asking this question, do I know this? Because if you know something, that means it's safe. And if you don't know it, it's unsafe. So we want to bring everything in our life, what we desire, where we want to be, how we want our reality to be, to feel like we know it, to feel like our nervous system knows it, to make it known to our nervous system so it stops rejecting it and deems it as something safe. So how do we get ourselves running in circles? So this is us in a hamster wheel. And what do? We think. We think first. That leads us reacting. That leads us to protecting. And that leads us to return. And of course, then we think again. So this is a hamster wheel we get ourselves in. The problem here is that we are still loyal to our old self, to our old identity. So we think we want something, but then we react a certain way to that something because it's unfamiliar to us. Obviously, it's unfamiliar to our nervous system, as I was talking. It's not safe. And then what do? We protect ourselves from the very thing that we want because it's unfamiliar and it's unsafe to us, right? Then we return to our old identity, of course, because that one feels safe. That one is the one that we are chained to. And the circle repeats. We think we want something. We react to that something because it's something out of our comfort zone. It's something out of our nervous system safety. We react to it. Then we protect ourselves from that very thing that we want. Our nervous system protects us from it because it deems it as unfamiliar, unsafe, and not good for us. And then we return to the same cycle over and over again. Because like I said, we are still loyal to our old identity. Let's write it somewhere here. Let's say you really want to start running. You want to take care of your health. You want to start running. So you think you want that. You imagine yourself as the person who is a runner, who is really good and healthy, fit. Then you start running. Your body obviously reacts because you were not active. It's really painful from the beginning, right? It feels really difficult. What the nervous system does, this is unsafe for us. This is something really unfamiliar. We need to protect ourselves from it. The nervous system is going to come up with all the excuses and all the things not to let you do that thing ever again. So you return to your old self, who is probably unhealthy, not running, instead spending the night lying on the couch watching Netflix. And then you are there back again and you think, oh, I would really love to be healthy and I would really love to start running. But I tried it once and it was not for me. I don't think I'm gonna do it ever again, So this is just one example, but you can apply to anything. Whenever you do something new and something really unfamiliar to your nervous system and to your identity, you're gonna feel uncomfortable and your nervous system is gonna try to return you back to your old self, to your old identity. So for example, now your identity is someone who is watching Netflix and not being healthy, not being active, not being physically active. So it's gonna be very easy to go back to that circle because everything is gonna be quote unquote against you, even your own self, even your own nervous system, even your own mind, because it deems it as unfamiliar and you are loyal to the old identity. I imagine you are standing here and you have to make a decision. So there is the old identity here. And here is the new identity. But it's very unfamiliar, okay? Because you don't know it yet. So you are kind of at the crossroads and you have to decide which way you're gonna go. Your nervous system is obviously gonna guide you to the old identity because it feels familiar, it feels safe, it feels like something you already know. And this one is unfamiliar because it's new. Sorry, this is probably not visible at all, but it's unfamiliar. It's something new, it's something not wired in us. So obviously it's gonna be really easy choice if you follow what's familiar and what's unfamiliar, if you follow your nervous system, if you follow your subconscious mind. But here is where we want to be stronger and where we want to be more clever than our own mind, and we need to playing the game of how our mind works. And if you are on this channel, you would already know that every time we are facing a situation where we are facing the logic versus the emotion, okay, so let's say this is the emotion and this is logic. The emotion is always going to win the battle because wherever is emotion, the logic is not even gonna qualify for this game because the emotion is always stronger, and the emotion is here because we are emotionally attached to our old identity. We already have our preconceived notions, we already know it's safe, we already know it's keeping us in some sort of comfort zone, we already know how to navigate it, we already know how to be with it, we already know it's not good for us logically. We already logically know this is much better for us because we want to up level in our life. Naturally, we want to evolve as human beings. Logically, we understand that, but the emotion is here because this is new. We don't know yet how it's going to feel. So what we perceive, how we relate to that is unfamiliar, dangerous, not safe. All these things that our nervous system is going to push us away from. And now, here we are, and we are looking at ourselves in the mirror, unsure who we are. So this is the mirror version of ourselves. This is the new identity that we so deeply desire. Okay, so this is the mirror, so make it clear. We desire it, but we don't know yet how to relate to it. And we are thinking how to get there. What do I have to do to be there? How can I make it my reality? How can I move things differently? How can I react differently? How can I create this in my life? How can other people have it and I don't have it? How? But instead of that, I want to ask you this really important question. What identity are you still addicted to because it keeps you safe in some way, one way or another? It doesn't matter if it's a twisted way, if it's a really illogical way, if it doesn't even make sense. If you are still keeping some sort of identity, it's because it's keeping you safe. And that's what I want you to explore when you are looking into the mirror and you are wondering, why am I still not changing? Why is it so hard for me to create change in my life? I want you to really brutally be honest with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, where am I still safe in this identity? And why am I still allowing this identity to dictate my life and to keep me stuck and change to this identity when my desires, my dreams, and my beautiful version of myself that I dreamed of is somewhere else? It's not this. I want them to be different. Where am I still addicted to my old identity, and how can I stop relating to that today? How can I start making the familiar unfamiliar and vice versa for my new identity? That's the important question, because if you're not going to ask yourself, you're not going to be brutally honest with yourself, you're going to just keep running in circles, repeating the same patterns, the same ways, the same behaviors, and coming back to the old identity because it is safe. So ask yourself this question, and please be honest with yourself, because we all have our blind spots. And remember, wherever you start defending that identity of yours, that's where the work probably most likely lies, because we defend the parts of ourselves that feel safe and are not serving us. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.